everyone. Welcome back to What Do We Know? I'd like to tell you what episode it is, but I honestly can't remember. So we don't know.
None of us know.
So moving on. So we spent last episode talking about physical health and kind of where we all were with that. And now we'd like to spend some time talking about mental health.
Yeah.
So, ladies, I don't know where to dive in. I mean, Tiff, I kind of want to dive in with you.
Okay.
Hear your thoughts.
I mean,
and hear your own personal stuff. Hear your thoughts. Hear your research.
Yeah. Mine is just mostly, personal stuff, counseling, what I've kind of been through in the last 4 years since we moved here. It's just gotten so much better. But I would say the 6 years before, maybe even more than that, because I think my struggles, I guess, with mental health go back to when really London was born, and my postpartum just kind of trickled into, it just never went away.
Mm.
And I had all the regular stuff like digging back into, childhood, and nothing traumatic, you know what I mean? Nothing at all. Like with my counselor.
Can I stop for just a second and tell?
Yeah.
So we can talk about because I feel like this is kind of actually an important one, especially like for young moms, is the postpartum. You said postpartum, and then it just kind of went on. But I want to.
No, I'll get there for sure. For sure.
I want to make sure we hit postpartum just because I feel like it wasn't really talked about super like a lot
exactly
with us, but then I don't feel like it's gotten that much better. Like it really depends on your doctor, whether and especially like for me, it was my OB that was really helpful. But if you're doing I know a lot of young moms are moving towards home births and midwives, and I just want to. I
can speak to that. I'll talk to that too because I had it as well, and I had the home birth thing. So
okay.
Yep.
So
I'll give my tips on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
No, please. All I was saying was I have I'm a total advocate for therapy. And really and that was just to kind of lay the groundwork. Like there really was, I didn't really have trauma. I had such a good childhood, and a lot of my stuff just started with the postpartum. Brooklyn was not an easy baby, but I just mustered through it. She was the first baby. Everything was easy because I had so much help. Nobody else had kids yet, so it was kind of a novelty. I literally was like the first grandkid, first great grandkid. All my friends, because we got married so young, I was kind of the first one to have kids. And so, great. Now we have London. The kid literally sleeps, I don't think ever to this day. She puts herself to bed. She wakes up early. Like it's just been easy with London from day one. So why? I actually don't know. And you guys could maybe speak to this because I haven't even dove into, I know that's like a massive hormone inflection, and I just didn't worry about what I was eating, which was really stupid. Well, when I was pregnant, what I was doing, I wasn't moving. So I'm sure my hormones were extremely out of whack because I would just gain a bunch of weight. I tend to be I don't want to say a lazy person because I'm not labeling myself, but I'm not I have to be really intentional, to do things. I could easily just hole up in my house and do nothing. Even though I'm extremely social, that's not my natural tendency to go there. So during my pregnancy, I think obviously all those things are factors. I don't know what's the reality for millions of people because everybody's different than me. What causes the postpartum? That would be interesting. Maybe Ashley knows a little bit more about that. But it was bad. I remember I didn't really take London outside. Ben's parents had to jump in and take Brooklyn to her little preschool, and it was really just staying in bed. I don't honestly know what I did with London. I remember the first time I recognized it was when I was walking into Fred Meyer, and I had London like in the baby carrier, and I set her up like on the, you know how we used to like, do people do this anymore? Like you set your car seat onto the front of your grocery cart. I don't really see that a lot anymore, but
People
whatever.
don't do it that much anymore.
know if they do,
I don't-
but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So whatever. And a lady came up to me and she said, "Sweetheart, I think your daughter is much too large for that carrier, and I think that's very unsafe for you to set a child up in the shopping cart like that." And I was like,
Whoa.
literally, it was like instant, like my brain like turned on, like, what the hell am I doing? Like I was literally just in a fog, and she had to be almost maybe 1.5, and I was still like carrying her around like a baby.
She was
like I
in
was
an
just
car seat.
Yeah, maybe a year,
Okay.
but like,
Yeah.
it was like I was just completely out to lunch, and I don't know what was. I honestly don't know what was going on, but that's really where it started. And I think when that happened, I got more cognizant of my situation, but the depression never went away. Now, we had moved right before London was born from Oregon to Washington. No offense if any of my friends that I was friends with then are listening to this, but I don't know. I mean, I drive 50 minutes to see Jolie, and I do it every day if I was invited. 0 people drove 25 minutes. Like those relationships were just like instantly severed. Like there was no intentionality in hardly any of my friendships. A few.
Yeah.
There are a few people that were intentional.
Yeah.
So now you're isolated. Blah, blah, blah. And that was kind of my origin story, I suppose, of my battle with mental health there. And then it just continued. But I never said anything, and that was what I feel like kept the train moving, was just my isolation and my secrecy about the patterns that were going on. Yeah. So, and then just medicating with either work. I know when I jumped into health coaching, that was like, oh, everything's fine now because you're so busy. And with my ADD or my ADHD, when you jump in something that you hyper focus on, everything is rosy, you know, when you get
dopamine
in those those dopamine hits or those patterns or whatever. So but that really continued until we came here. It was just a constant battle for me until it was almost I got some serious suicidal tendencies when we owned a gym. Again, no offense if anybody's listening, but cheer moms are not easy to deal with. And and enter COVID on top of that.
Cheer. It wasn't school cheer. It was club cheer. It was like next level competition cheer, which is another level. Just
it was like Dance Moms on TV. Like that's so. It feels like that's so real. So it's just a bunch of. It was just always. It was always going on in the background, and still, I think, until the end, like I was just always super secretive about it, and then finally, a good therapist, and now the sunshine here. I don't want to say like, oh, I never have that. I just have learned to put some tools in my toolbox. So that's kind of my battle. And I guess my story is that people are still, even with all the mental health resources, people are still secretive, or like me, I carried a lot of shame. Like, you have such a great life. Everything's great. Why are you depressed? I can't figure it out. I don't want to tell anybody because now I look like I'm a snotty brat because why am I depressed?
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, we treat mental illness like it's this hush hush thing where like we should treat it just like we treat a heart condition or we treat cancer or anything else because it is the same. It needs to be treated just like that. We need doctors. We need to make changes in our life, and it shouldn't be something that we just hush hush because, oh, my life looks so perfect to the outsider, so there's no reason for me to be depressed, or there's no reason for it doesn't matter. Like, depression hits at every level, at every, from the 1%ers to people who are financially struggling to people who love their life. It has nothing to do with that. And so And it comes from all different places too. Some things you're just born with that chemical imbalance, and some things are because of trauma. And like, but if we feel like we have to be quiet about it, then I think that's where it starts to spiral.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we get that voice in our head, oh, we're just being, like you just said, like snotty or selfish
Traumatic.
or yeah. And so, but the reality is it's a real thing, and it goes often ignored, and then we end up with messy situations.
True. Yeah, that's all. It's a weird, I feel like it's a weird elephant in every room, because I don't feel like anybody ever escapes it. Like, I feel like at some point, I mean, Ben, my husband, was like a big, like, I don't want to say like a depression denier, but he's like, no, you just, this happens or this happens, and then you have to, you just have to deal with it. And even in the last few years, like, we've gone through stuff where he's like, wow, that's like, I feel on some level what you felt. And it's like, I feel so bad because I couldn't understand or whatever. I mean, I think that everybody deals with it. So it's really, I don't know why there's such a need to be quiet about it.
What would you say?
So
it is. What would you say is, like, where did you enter in to seek help, or like, what was the path to getting help?
The person that helped me the most, I felt like, actually was like shifting blame to the kids. Like, oh, they're just really, what was that? What was the word? There was a book, and it's like, your kids are not high maintenance, but it was not.
I know what whatever. You're talking about.
Totally a Christian book that we all.
Oh
have
my
read.
gosh, what do they call that? Yes, yeah.
Jolie, if I said it, you'd be like, "Oh yeah." Anyways,
was
maybe
a
Dr. Dobson
like
book or something.
No, they did a whole seminars on, like, they came to schools, and
it was
wasn't it by a woman? Like,
no, it was definitely no. It was definitely a Christian man. I think it was Dr. Dobson, and it was I can't remember the word. Anyways, I'm like, this is my kids. They're unruly. They're whatever. So I went to this lady, and she had come to the church I was attending in Vancouver, Washington, and she was doing what was called a FEMA plan. So it was a family emergency thing, whatever. So she told us ladies at our women's group, like, I'll do a complimentary session for each of you to just help you get, if anybody wants to, if you really feel like you need it. And I went in, and she was with me still 5 to 6 months later, meeting with me on a regular basis. And I feel like I still obviously dealt with it, but she gave me the tools, kind of like what we were talking about before we went live, Ashley, is that the issues don't go away, but now there's the coping mechanism or the recognition of what we're going through.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's really what it boils down to, right? Is like, when this happens, what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Not that you can control it all the time, but
no, okay, but I do think there's
a strong-willed child. Sorry,
strong-willed child. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yep. I was accusing my children of being strong-willed.
It was such a big trend.
Yeah, that is so. Like, I'll go like. I'm like, have you met a child? Like, you are supposed to be strong-willed. That is your job as a child. Of course, there's children that are technically a little more compliant, but at the end of the day, that's the rarity. Most children want to push boundaries. They have a strong will, which is a gift. But it doesn't mean they're broken. And I think that's part of, like, that's a shame thing. Like, well, must be your parenting. It must be this. I'm like, no. Your kid's a kid. Like, maybe not monetizing normal childhood behavior.
I'm sorry.
But the strong-willed child got me into the therapy I needed.
That's funny.
She told me immediately, this is not your kids. This is you,
weird,
babe. So I was like,
right? You're like, my children revealed exactly the thing that I needed help with. Like, isn't that what they do?
Which was great.
The thing you were saying though was like, once the light is on, you can't turn it off. Now you see it, no going back, no denying it. If anything, if people are wanting to continue denying it, once that light is on, like that's more the issue, is if you keep trying to put it away and denying the reality. But now that you saw it, you were like, now I can tackle it.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's probably how almost everybody, something has to get bad enough.
Yeah.
Usually.
Well, and I realized it was definitely chronic. I mean, that was the number one reason that we moved here, because I just couldn't battle that and battle the clouds at the same time. It was too much for me. Like, even
there's no
now,
amount of vitamin D supplements and exercise and nutrition and da, da, da. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't counteract it. Even on cloudy days here, I don't know if you feel this, Jolie. I don't know if you have sad or not, but on cloudy days here, like, I'm useless. Literally useless. Like, it's weird. It's weird.
Oh, I felt it when I was there.
As soon as I wake up, it's like, oh, clouds.
Yep.
And I'll just have to kind of push myself to move that day.
Yeah. She said sad, but it's seasonal. Is it, what's the A?
Disorder.
Affective disorder.
Yeah.
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 Sorry.
No, it's okay. They're like, oh, she's sad.
She's sad. Are you sad?
No, it's an actual thing.
Yeah.
It's an actual
I don't have that, actually. I've got a lot of other things, but I don't have that.
That's amazing.
Yay for one box that's not checked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like
wonder, though, some people who are really artistic and creative seek out places that put them in that spot where their creativity actually flourishes. So I wonder if that ever happens to you, where that actually spurs on creativity.
Yeah, I like the clouds. I like that. In fact, I was very concerned about moving to Arizona because it would be too much sun, too many sunny days and not enough cloudy days for me. Like, because, yeah, I like a good cloudy day. I like rainy. I like that kind of thing, just because I see things differently on those days. So yeah, so that doesn't bother me. Christian does better. I mean, I probably wouldn't totally say he has seasonal affective disorder, but he definitely, like, is better in the sunshine. Like, too many cloudy days in a row, and it's like, but yeah, but no, that's not on my list of disorders. But there are many.
Tell us what is on your. Let's just talk about it.
Where do you want to begin?
That's a booklet.
Yeah. Your diagnosis sheet.
She's like, here's my. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I definitely struggled with, like, depression. I mean, obviously I had a pretty severe eating disorder, all through childhood. I had a lot of other just that then became physical sicknesses. And my parents were super into the metaphysical. So, like, anytime there was something, oh, you must have this, you must have that. So there's a lot of shame involved. But when I started going to therapy just because of marriage stuff, and then we started to, like, just scratch the surface of some weird things from childhood, but not really. And then when we moved here, and there was, like, a family, like, upheaval, with some things being discovered that happened to my kids, then it kind of, like, snowballed into, oh, this is actually what I've been dealing with. So I have dissociation disorder, and now it's a lot better. My anxiety, depression, now it's all been treated. And so the dissociation is probably the biggest one. And that comes on huge spectrum. So you can get all the way to like DID, where I didn't have splits, but what they said, it was like a little bit like softer than full splits. It was just like compartmentalized. So I can completely disassociate from things, and then that causes like the weird dysregulation. So I had to learn how to be more integrated. And I think the best example for dissociation for me, like I can have people come in and out of my life and it doesn't affect me at all. Like, oh, we're not friends anymore. Okay, cool. Like, and I can completely just shut that off and move. Like, I just, because it's like an attachment thing. I don't get attached. I stay kind of disassociated from things and people and situations. And so on one hand, it allows me to move in and out of situations easy, but on the other, it's like, unhealthy to never get attached to something. So, and early on, now, of course, it's been treated, but early on, my kids really felt that because I can be completely disengaged. And where other people are like, oh, don't you just miss your kids? I'd be like, oh, right, I'm supposed to miss my kids. Because when early on, I just can completely not be attached to that. So no, or like my husband traveling, I'm like, but now that it's been treated, yeah, I know how to have more attachments. And so
when you were, when you would say get attached, did you feel anxiety, or like, what did they say, or did you ever figure out like where was that all coming from? So like, what were you feeling that you tried to avoid, if you will?
So the overarching thing that I have is complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. So because I was sexually assaulted before I turned 5, then it's a brain development thing. So no anxiety. That's the thing. I have no anxiety. I just don't get all that attached. So I don't have anxiety when people like even like being engaged and then that not working out. I mean, there was some bit of sadness, but then it's like it's more sadness over the public perception than because I've lost something in my life. Because I just like, okay, well, what's next? Was kind of my attitude. Like, I don't like the thing that I struggled with was the public perception, like, because I was raised for things to look a certain way and be a certain way. So it's not okay to not have my life look perfect. And so
that in itself creates a lot of angst. Yeah, that creates a lot of angst in people, because I felt that as well growing up.
Yeah, so that's where like the depression and stuff, I think it was hard, and anxiety because my life needs to look a certain way. And growing up, for sure, like, I mean, my dad was very particular on how our life looked, the public image. And so I learned to like adjust the way I was dressed, the way I was talking, I mean, we don't chew gum in public. We don't do like those kind of things because it looks like this. And so then you come home and then you crash because like it's exhausting. But that all compiles on the fact that I already had, complex trauma.
Yeah.
That then, there was trauma happening in my house. There was trauma happening outside of my house, at another family member's house. So And then, but what happened was then when you realize that your kids actually had experienced the same things from the same person, like then it all just crashed and I had to actually get help. I had to actually go to therapy and then I had a team. So, because one therapist just can't cover all the spaces. So then I had 3 people doing the different kinds of therapy. Wow. So yeah. And I mean, now, and then it was a lot of different meds. I mean, I was on a lot of different, not just for depression and anxiety, but also I have like body things. I wasn't sleeping. So at one point I was on 5 different things. So now I'm on none, but
that's wild. How did you, for people, okay, so I've seen, and I'm asking this because like meds to me were never a problem. If anything, the problem was me worrying that if I said anything that my doctor would think that I was trying to get pills, and that would hold me back. But I wasn't ashamed, or I didn't demonize medication. I was just worried that they would think that I was like, whatever. So one, was that ever an issue? Were you open to it? Were you like opposed? And then how did you go from 5 to 0?
So it started with, I took ADHD meds before all of this. And so that's not even included in the other ones. That's just something is what I was diagnosed with, which still is unclear if it's ADHD or if it's just trauma that causes it. But so I took those, which was hard. That was a first step of like, okay, it's okay to take meds. So when I took those, I had to get through the fact that just like I wouldn't deny someone who had a heart condition their medication, why would I not take medication for something that is literally in my brain that needs rewiring that I have to do? So that was the first step of getting over like taking meds. But I will say when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, I did not take the meds. My doctor prescribed them. I picked them up, but I wouldn't take them because I was in a place where I'm like, I don't need antidepressants. That's stupid. Like, so
I was the same. That's weird.
Yeah. So when it came to then getting here, like, because it was like, we really we hit bottom as a family. Like it was messy, and then it got to a place where I'll try whatever. And so and then it just, so first they did something for sleep, which I took trazodone for sleep. Then it was like, hey, you need more than this, and so you need an antidepressant, and then you need something because I couldn't feel in my arms. There'd be points in the day where I literally felt like I couldn't feel my arms, and then it was like I was having body reactions, so I needed to take gabapentin to relax my body so I could function. And then, oh my gosh, but then so then I had to take, oh my word, there's one that starts with a P that's for similar as gabapentin, for the body anxiety, which isn't so it's not in my brain. So I will say book recommend, The Body Keeps the Score, because if you touch me on the back of my neck, I have a tense up reaction, I can't breathe. And so I was taking medication to soften that kind of stuff, because Christian can't touch me on my shoulder, or so I need to sit a certain place in a restaurant. I need to those kind of things. And so the different meds were to help with that. And then we could start, because you can't even do the work. I can't
you can't even function
with a therapist if I can't get comfortable sitting there, or someone still can't touch me on my shoulder, and you don't know when it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, what's happening is you touch me on my arm, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm not safe in my own home, like whatever it is. And so we had to take all the medication to get to the place where, okay, what's actually causing this, and talk about it. And once I started doing that, I mean, it was probably a year and a half where I took all the meds, and then we just started weaning off one by one. And I still have, like, I still keep a bottle of gabapentin, just so that, like, because you don't have to take it, it's not something you have to ramp up or ramp down. Like, I can just have, like, when we're going shopping in a crowd, like, I just take gabapentin. So, because if someone bumps into me or something like that, so, so, yeah, but, and
so
I
you
think,
weaned it down,
weaned off all of them. Yep. To just one that I take sporadically.
And, with a doctor's help, I'm assuming, to teach you how to titrate.
I didn't just have a therapist. I had also, like a nutrition specialist and a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So
the psychiatrist is, I just want people to know that, because I really think that knowing who to go to for what and how. And I think people won't do things thinking it's a dead end road. I don't want to be on this forever. Or they just go cold turkey or whatever. Right. And I want people to hear how we actually did this and who actually treats what, because for so many different reasons, but also recognizing whatever's going on, there are specialists for a reason. There are some doctors who are phenomenal, but I really believe in working with specialists if you can.
Yeah, for sure. And I like my psychiatrist, his specialty was eating disorders, but my therapist, I think her specialty is more like complex trauma, dissociation. So together, it was a good team. And I was able to stay out of like a facility, because it was all outpatient. I didn't do any inpatient. But that said, I think the inpatient is so good. And we've had one of our daughters do inpatient for depression. And I think it is such a good idea if you can. And my family would have, they would have rallied and done it. I just tried to work as hard as I could so I didn't have to do an inpatient facility. But I recommend you do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
And you take whatever you have to take. Like it was actually lifted the cloud, so then you could do the work. And I think I agree. People are like, oh, but I don't want to take this, or I don't want to have to ramp up. Right. There's also a lot of things, like 3 of my meds were things that I could start or stop whenever I wanted. There was only 2 that had to be ramped up and ramped down.
Yep.
But I mean, it made such a difference. So yeah, I think and that's what I said. You would never tell someone to not treat their heart condition or whatever it is, or I mean, obviously there's different schools of thoughts on cancer, but you wouldn't just say don't treat it, whether you're doing a natural treatment or more chemo treatment. You wouldn't just say, well, just hope for the best and you can
power
hustle
through
this and you can find
it
joy.
Away. Yeah, maybe you should run.
Yeah, I mean, get outside, take a walk.
Yeah, just your life isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether you're seeing a functional doctor, whether you're seeing like naturopath or Western medicine, Eastern medicine, don't just do nothing. Do something and start somewhere, because it makes a difference to do the hard work. And I'm not gonna lie, therapy is hard work. I mean, I think we'd all agree that, like, nobody is like, yay, I get to go to therapy today, like, woohoo, this is so much fun. It was hard work, and we all drag our feet to go, but, like, you feel so much better after you've done it and you're doing the work, and then you have tools. I like that you said that, Tiffany. Like, it's not that you don't still have hard days, and that there isn't still this piece of, like, depression or whatever it is, but now I have the tools. When I'm triggered, when there's a trauma response, now I have whatever, a whole slew of things I can do to keep me present and to keep me moving forward.
Well, the fact now too that you can identify clearly when you're doing it. Before, you didn't even know you were doing it.
No.
I think that's right there is the secret that people need to know, is like, there's things going on potentially. If you see a pattern or something keeps happening, like, look at your life. What are you recognizing keeps happening? And that's where you can start, is like, and the simple statement of, I don't know why. And honestly, that's not your job to know why. That's why there are doctors. You don't have to know. You just know what's happening. You don't have to know why it's happening. That's what they can help you with. You don't need to go in knowing what your diagnosis is going to be. You can just know something's weird, something's off, something. My thing was that I went in and said, I think that my reactions are disproportionate to what's happening. My reactions I find my reactions to be too big in comparison to what the trigger is. And I don't know why. That was my foot in the door to, oh God. But it was that simple of them going, okay. And they will walk you through it to help you get there.
Right. And for the people who are like, oh, but like, 'cause I have whole sections of my childhood I have no memory of. And that's so normal. For people who are like, I don't want to remember, and I don't want to do that work, and I don't want to, you actually don't have to. There are still whole sections of my childhood I have zero memory of, and there's no need. I mean, my therapist, there's no need to try to, like, bring out those memories, because what we have to deal with is the triggering piece. Like, why don't I want to make a phone call? Why does the phone give me anxiety? Or why does going to the grocery, or why these certain things? And let's deal with that in the present. Instead of like, oh, we have to get to the root of the situation and deal with whatever that. I mean, in some cases, yes, but in a lot of cases, no, because I need to know how to live in the present and recognize the trigger, work through it, have the tools. And so whatever deep, dark memory that's my brain has locked away, it's okay. I don't need to know. So, I would say too on that though, would you if somebody's relating to what we're talking about here, would you rather that memory unlock when you're not seeking help? Because there is the potential that it's going to come up. If you already have a feeling that, like, if this is resonating with you, I'm not saying it's going to, but I am saying it could. And would you rather already have the tool and have the, like, path and have the help? Because it could. So I just think people don't do things until it is literally rock bottom or it's an emergency. And that's normal. Like, I don't want anyone to feel like that's not normal. That's totally normal. But if you knew there was another way, you might want to consider addressing it, because it's worth it.
Can I go back real quick to something Jolie said? Even if you're feeling something like I don't like to go to the grocery store, or there's things that like just stop you in your tracks. I am 43 years old, and it is literally a grind for me to like shower and get ready. Mm-hmm. That is a weird thing. My mom was a hairdresser. My mom was incessant that my hair looks good. It's a direct reflection on her. We have to shower. We have to do our hair. We have to do all these things. I love my mom. She worked her ass off and provided for us and had a very successful hair place. I don't begrudge my mom now because of any of these things, but I might have if I hadn't have gone to therapy. But if somebody's out there and there's something that really you struggle with, that's like a daily practice, there's probably something that you need help with, and you don't even necessarily need to get to the root of it. I can tell you the dumb things during my day that I deal with that people would be like, that's really, really weird. Why don't you do this? Or when I tell myself that I'm lazy, no, I think I live in a lot of avoidance of things that are just pan outs from things when we were a kid. But there's things like BetterHelp that you can look at. We're a podcast and we're not even sponsored by BetterHelp, but we can talk about it because there's easy ways that you can get help, that maybe you just need to lay on your bed and put your phone on speaker and talk to somebody that's not your friend, or or listen to folklore. I don't know, like something will help you, but like I'm kidding, but agree, like though. Seriously.
Do you think that it's amazing because the gap when you're depressed, the gap between getting help, like recognizing it to wanting to get help to going to get help, it's nearly impossible. I swear. It is the fact that you can go online and just talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Wow. That's that tool alone. I mean, there's a lot of doctors that do Zoom too. So, you know, there's that. But I think people also do avoid because they think it's such a big leap to get to it. And you don't need to start in a therapist office. You can start on Zoom.
But a lot of times we got scared. I know, like when Ben and I first got married and we were going through our insurance stuff, he had gotten like his first big boy job and we were learning things about our insurance. Well, you know, you might not be able to get insurance again later on in life if you are diagnosed
with that you have
that you have
whatever
depression or mental health. You might be a mental disorder. You're probably going to be uninsurable.
Nope.
How many people lived with that? I don't know if that was true then, but that is a non-truth now. Like,
it is a non-truth.
So, and if you're carrying that because I mean, we can talk about all kinds of things and beliefs that we carry with us from long, long ago that creep into other parts of our life. And so I know that at points I was like, we can't go to the doctor for this. If I get on an antidepressant, what if you change jobs? I can't be insured or something, you know. It's stupid fears that were maybe real. I don't know, but it's just
They're
so easy.
Now.
No, it's not now. But I would say even if you have something that just is kind of stifling you getting through a day, it's totally worth looking into. And you might dig something up, but you might not. You might just get the tools in your toolbox to figure out why you're 43 and showers suck to you. That's really weird to me, but I know why, and I just deal with it. So
I thought that so many of the things that I was experiencing were completely normal and that everybody did experience those. And I didn't know that other people didn't have those issues because I didn't know. Yeah. So simple things like the avoiding cleaning or wiping off the table or sweeping up after the kids were making a mess, or anything that actually turned out to be a combination of ADHD and depression. I didn't know that was my case was really extreme. I didn't know. I thought everybody was like that. I didn't know it could be easy to pick up the toys. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But the amount of like mental health that
I was gonna say, will you dive into that? Just your last couple years? Is that possible?
very possible. Well, I'll just say I look back. So one thing you can do is if you want to see if something is based on maybe your situation or if it's more chronic, look at your past. So when I looked back, I saw how depression had been there probably since I was 5. And that helped me. Like that was actually not that wasn't bad news. That was good news because I was like, oh, this is how I am. This is how I'm wired. Now we can deal with it. So, God, I tried everything you could imagine, trying to always get out of this heaviness. I just felt like there was always a weight on my shoulder or a weight on my head. And I tried acupuncture and I tried I was the queen of nutrition and exercise. I was, you name the amount of things I did, lifestyle, which is amazing that I could even do it with the level of depression that I had and anxiety is insane. And it felt like a full-time job to just get through that. It took all my energy and all my focus. And thank God I had the resources because this is not realistic for most people to even do.
It was crazy levels.
Insane.
In your adulthood, you were doing immense amount of things to
good things,
mm-hmm.
healthy things. So I'm not, it was just, I really bought the, something I was pitched in church that depression was treatable through prayer and, sin. I was constantly looking at what am I doing? What am I doing to sin? This is clearly from sin. As I'm and I was like, God, it's got to be something, God, right? Like reveal to me what it is that is causing all this, whatever. Right. And I just kept believing that. And I was told like, all you need to do is run and change your diet. And I did all that and it just kept, and it was manageable, but I actually felt addicted to vitamin D, like taking vitamin D, because I remember I traveled one time and I was freaking out that I wasn't going to have enough vitamin D. That's a red flag, that I was dependent. And which is, so it's not like I was technically addicted. My brain was going off. The sirens were going off. And so anyways, that's when I was 26. And then, okay, so this pattern 5, significant things went along the way, but I wanted medication, but like I said, I was afraid to bring it up thinking I was going to look like somebody that was trying to get pills. I don't know. And so, and I had a naturopath and that was great. And she was phenomenal. And she kept helping me with like natural stuff and everything. And then I had my first kid when I was 26, I think. And then, I had a little bit of postpartum, but I think it was in the normal range of anxiety. And what happened was, you were talking about home birth. So I had a home birth. I had a naturopathic doctor who delivered my baby and did all my prenatal care. And I had a doula. And if anybody's listening to this, whether you have at home birth or hospital or wherever, if you can get a doula, get one. Like if that is something, even if you are like, I need to shift some finances, get a doula. For so many reasons, but their job is the emotional care of the mother. And the doctors are good, but they're doing medical care and I needed the emotional support. So she told me, your brain still thinks that like we're not that far, our species hasn't been around that long, that we're not still functioning under as if there's a saber-toothed tiger outside of our cave. And so your brain for survival is designed to continue procreation of our species. We are designed to protect our babies and be on high alert. And now we don't have real threats like a saber-toothed tiger. So our brains are designed to manufacture threats. So you might find yourself having anxiety over made up scenarios. And that got me through so many times, recognizing this scenario that I'm making up in my mind of some sort of threat to me or the baby is not real. And that tool alone, oh, hang on, I'm echoing. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I can hear you.
Okay. So hang on. I don't know why I'm echoing. Somebody's mic is echoing back in. Anyways, so hopefully that helps for people. But that tool I used for baby number 1, recognizing what was going on in my brain, baby number 2. But by the time baby number 3 came around, and you were saying, Tiff, why? I don't know why. I think we can try to analyze why things happen all day long, but the fact is it is happening. So I don't care how it happened, it was happening. And what that type of depression and anxiety was I was avoiding doing anything that required me to turn off noise. So if I was blow drying my hair, my brain was creating so many catastrophic thoughts that I avoided anything that would put my brain in that, or that would turn off the podcast or turn off the music or turn off the distraction or the show, because my brain was catastrophizing to the point of debilitation. And that's when I called my doctor and I said, not like I can't live like this and like I don't want to live, but like this is no way to live. I need help. And that's where she was like, you have been trying natural everything. And this is a naturopath. She's like, you have tried literally everything for a decade. Are you ready to take medication? And I was like, I've been ready for a while. I've just been waiting for you to say something. I should have learned. I could have said something earlier.
Yeah.
They're actually not going to think that you're trying to just get pills. That's actually not what's happening.
Yeah.
So I think with the stigma of medications, a lot of doctors are almost like shy to bring it up. I could have brought it up and they never would have judged me. And I could have not been, as one of my friends says, raw dogging life. I don't actually have to do that. I'm like, oh, that's quite the visual, but that is how it felt. And so she, gosh, I'm trying to think if she put me on Wellbutrin right away. And that was a dosage. We played with the dosage. And I was about 50% of the noise had gone away, but 50% was still there. Okay. So that's when I was, how old was I? 30. I was in my 30s. I don't know. And, also what was going on was, COVID. I've been raising babies isolated, extremely isolated at home for years. And it really escalated with being pregnant during the Delta outbreak. So it was extremely dangerous. I actually had friends who I can't believe they survived. And they were a few weeks ahead of me in their pregnancy when they got sick and they were on ventilators. So I wasn't messing around, but I think the effects on my mental health were, wow. And there was a lot going on in my household with my marriage that was, it was a lot. I'm trying to figure out how much I can say on that still. Like I want to say everything, but I want to, I'm still navigating that, but, let's just say it was a lot going on. And, I went to a psychiatrist and recommended by my doctor who had put me on the Wellbutrin. And that's what I walked in and I said, I'm on this medication And she's like, well, she asked me, what percentage of the time is it, are you still having those catastrophic thoughts? And I said, it's about 50% better. And she's like, we need to up your medication. So that's how that happened. And then she diagnosed me with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I wasn't sleeping. I didn't realize I wasn't sleeping, but I'd been co-sleeping with babies for so long. So that's another thing. If anyone's experiencing that, it really F's up your sleep. And I'm glad I did it, because I would have screwed up my sleep if I had to keep getting up to nurse. So I just night nursed, but my body was always on alert. And so I wasn't sleeping well. And as it turns out, you're supposed to sleep 9 hours a night uninterrupted. I had no idea. So I just couldn't get into a real sleep. It was always very surfacey and shallow. And so she put me on Ativan for that, which is an anxiety medication, and up the Wellbutrin, and then put me on, I think that was it actually to start. And then she monitored the doses. So that's how you dose up. That's how you find your dose. They start you somewhere and then you report back and whatever. So then, like you said, Jolie, the only way we were going to actually do therapy, because she did psychotherapy, was to get objective. That's where I needed to be. And the medication is what changed my brain to have the ability to be objective. Yeah. And I needed to see things for what they were, not for what all my mental health, mental illness was showing, what I thought was going on. So once we got to a baseline, we could actually do therapy.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. Once we started therapy and got the medications to where I could actually see my life for what it was, within, and this is not to scare anybody, but I'm just going to tell you, that was September, October, November, December. I was getting divorced by January. After 15 years of marriage. So.
Well, it's amazing, because then you start to get healthy and you start to see the things. You can start recognizing the unhealthy patterns in your life. When you're all caught in it, then you don't see kind of where the unhealthy patterns are. And so as you get healthy, like, you do start to think, I mean, for you, it was your marriage. But, there's going to be things that, like, okay, now I see the unhealthy pattern, and those things I need to get rid of, because.
Yep.
And I mean, that's just
with help too, because I didn't want that to be I didn't want that to be the problem. I wanted it to just be me. It was like, I can deal with me.
So much easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was my whole thing. I was like, can't it just be me? Can't we just fix me?
Yeah.
And
yeah. But we have made a lot of adjustments in our family. Won't go in huge detail, but we have definitely had to remove people from our life. I mean, with very, very hard boundaries. A lot of my family, and so because it's unhealthy, and even though I'm better and I've done the work and the therapy, then you just start to say, except now I have no tolerance for that in my life, and I'm not willing to. Why would I keep putting myself in that situation? Because if they're not willing to do the work and to change their patterns, then I can no longer allow that to affect my life, my family, my children. And that's just, the sad truth is that, some of it was me, but not all of it. And so, you have to really do something about that and make different choices. And sometimes means people gotta go.
Well, weirdly enough, or not, when I was able to address the reality of what was going on in my life, which was a lot of circumstantial things, once I did move forward with eliminating things in my life that were, I did not know how those were affecting my mental health.
Right.
I think I was very open to things being chronic and chemical, or I actually thought everything was chronic and chemical. I did not think that that was going to happen, that once I, had my own house and wasn't in those situations with the people that it was unhealthy, I could sleep. And all of a sudden, I didn't have the anxiety. And I was like, the day came where I was like, why am I taking these? And I called my doctor, and that's when I said, what do you think about, like, where would you start? And we had, I was on, Ativan's like a benzo. And I was like, I don't want to be on this forever. And I didn't like that my brain was addicted to it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, let's start there. So she walked me through what'd you call it? Titrate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So meaning, like, how do you decrease your dose until either and I was open. I was like, there might not be a day where I'm off of this, and I'm okay with that, but I at least want to test the waters, because things are going really well and I don't know that I need it. I got off of that. Then it was the Wellbutrin, which was kind of an accident that I got off of it. I just kind of stopped. And I don't even know if I should say this, because this is dangerous for people to do. But I was in therapy. So let me just be very clear, with a psychiatrist. But I was able to, I didn't really have to do a big weaning off of the Wellbutrin. Though most people should. So I'm just gonna be clear on that, because it can come back real fast and real hard and real not good. So I was just pretty quickly able to get off of Wellbutrin. And then at that point too, after everything became medicated, then we could see the ADHD, because it was presenting with so much of the depression disguising it. That's when I got diagnosed with the ADHD. Then we were medicating for that. But again, that was Vyvanse, and you don't have to take it all the time. And I couldn't eat. So that's something I said in the last episode, was I was so happy I'd put on 17 pounds, but I didn't explain why. The appetite suppression from the Vyvanse was so intense, and I was on such a low dose, by the way, that was actually unhealthy for me. And I chose that I would rather, once my life became level, I can handle ADHD symptoms naturally with choices and actually develop skills and recognize what's going on. I couldn't do that before. So I want people to know, like, it's not just, you should just pull it together. No, that's not really how this works. Maybe get the help first, and then they're going to teach you how to have the tools.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It never works to just tell people, well, you should just muscle through it. That actually doesn't work.
Well, and I think if that's the approach, then mental health doesn't have to be scary, because it doesn't mean that you are, just going to be like this complete mental case in a psych ward for the rest of your life. I think that people have it's just a really misconstrued just concept altogether. I think that, I think on some level, like I said, everybody deals with it. But it's how you walk through it and how you approach life on the daily with the tools that you are given. And I think if you just either ignore it, it's going to get worse, or you're going to lash out, or you're going to constantly, just have these weird quirks that are constantly tripping you up in your day. Why? Why do
your life doesn't actually have to be that hard.
happen?
Yeah.
Right.
And if you have a mood disorder or personality disorder that you do need to treat, say with lithium or something, what we're talking about with decreasing medication is not the same thing. And there is
Right.
nothing wrong with if you need to take something forever. That's actually
Right.
perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Treat the things that need to be treated, like whether it's, I'm trying to think now. My mind is going blank on the ones that do need medication all the time, like bipolar.
Like bipolar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like those kind of things, or
schizophrenia, or
yeah,
tons
and
of
those
them.
are
Tons of them.
yeah, but take the meds and I do have friends with I do have a friend that has paranoid schizophrenia, and I do have a friend that has DID, and I do have a friend that has bipolar, and they take their meds and they live their lives. Actually, not my
That's
friend
what
who
it's
has
there
DID.
for.
You can't take meds for DID, but for the other ones, like yeah, and that's what it is. Then you can function just fine and live your life and find freedom there. I think what happens is we get stuck in this try harder, do better, and there's no freedom there, and there's no grace there.
Yeah.
So if you find your freedom when you're making the right choices for what's going on in your life. And if just like you'd pick a medical doctor for something, pick a therapist and pick the right therapist. And like you said, you can start with the one online, and then if you need to be getting meds, then have the psychiatrist. But if you need trauma therapy, do the EMDR. If you need just someone to talk to, do that. Like whatever it is.
Yep.
Make the right choice so you can find freedom in your life, because otherwise you're carrying stuff that I think we're not meant to carry that way.
Yeah.
So
I think it is on the same thread as last week. We can go right back to saying this life is not easy. We don't need to keep making it harder. There are tools and resources. Like, let's become the best version of ourselves and live the best lives we can. Even in the middle of whatever turmoil is going on the outside, we can all take care of ourselves. And I think that's the ultimate point, is stop dealing with the naysayers or people that it might be your spouse that thinks it's bad. It might be your mom that thinks it's bad. And that's okay. You can go online and find somebody to talk to you anytime.
Yeah.
Yep.
That will help you and get you on the right path. And I think it's regardless of budget. There really are things in everybody's wheelhouse that they can
for sure
they can gather. And
I
think it's
and we need to be a space that it's okay to talk about. I feel like the church needs to be a space where it's okay to talk about, like, these things. Everyone's dealing with them. Let's talk about it. My pastor on a regular basis talks about how he deals with depression.
Yeah.
And the intensity that in the past he's dealt with it. And even though it's not at that level anymore, but that he still sometimes deals with it. And I feel like that's a good thing to have. Like, it's okay to talk about, because we need to give people space to talk about these things so that they can move forward.
And you can't tell me that God is so small that he can't handle this.
Oh, yeah. Well, in some ways, this is what I talk about with friends, my DID friend. Like, this is the way God created your brain to work. This is, and I think even what you bring up is this instinct that we have to protect, and what that does, that we're wired that way.
Yeah.
And so, like, when trauma happens in our life, our bodies are wired this way for protection. And so,
who do you think wired it? Who made it that way?
So now that we recognize that, okay, now we can treat that, because if the trauma is no longer there now, and we don't need to be like constantly on high alert or at the top of our, window of tolerance, then let's treat it so that we can live that way. I mean, those, fight, flight, collapse responses are real.
Yeah.
And that is the way we were created, to have those responses for a reason. And now we just need to figure out, okay, now that we're trying to live our life, we need to find out when those responses are appropriate and when they're not.
Yes.
Help regulate our body so that our body's not freezing when it's supposed to be, fighting, or, completely in collapse when we need to be, doing something but that's what help is for, because there's no shame the fact that you feel like you can't get up off the floor, you're in collapse.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way your body was made to react when high trauma happens. So now let's figure out, when the trauma's over, how we move forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
And put us in a space where we can have the correct response.
Yeah. And I think that, being in the church, I somehow associated that divorce. I did everything right. I was supposed to have, I didn't have sex till I was married, and I followed all the rules, and God was supposed to bless my marriage, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
So I carried around a lot of avoidance, that as if divorce was never going to be an option. And once I got real with good, not gaslighting pastors, then I told them what was really going on.
Yeah.
Their eyes of like, what are you doing?
You mean they didn't just tell you to go see a Christian counselor?
No, they didn't. After, especially me telling them, I've been trying to do this since the first year of marriage. Like, you can't tell me I didn't try, but here's what's going on. But I was projecting it. I was internalizing this. It wasn't necessarily the outside world telling me that divorce wasn't an option. It was me telling myself it wasn't an option.
Right.
And I'm not even going to blame anything for that. That was just something I kept doing. And it's amazing, the Christian counsel that has come out to support me in saying that was actually not only okay, that was the right thing you needed to do. That is not how God would want his daughter treated.
No.
Right. Right.
Like, stuff like that I was like, huh. And I tried to hide everything. I wasn't hiding it all. There's things that people see about you that you think you're hiding, and people are like, we saw that. And I don't know why I did all that, you guys. I really don't. I don't know. But I just hope if somebody hears this and they're recognizing this, like, don't be afraid. I was terrified that if I actually dealt with this, that I would move forward with divorce. I was almost like, I don't even want to deal with it then.
Yeah.
That was not the answer at all. And
then
I
that multiplies all the symptoms and the trauma and the responses and everything.
100%.
happening.
And I really wish that divorce didn't have to be the end result. It didn't have to be. It just happened to be the end result in my situation.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the answer of what happens. It's actually okay if it does.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
But you won't be fine if you stay in what something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because it is. If it's weird, if it feels weird, it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
We could unpack so much crap. We will. We will, you guys.
Yeah. I want to say that we're just like, we don't.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
Hours. This is just starting, the conversation. We will revisit this on many other episodes, I am sure. This is definitely something that I feel passionate about, and I know we all do, and especially passionate about how the church handles it. So I do feel like we will revisit this again, but we don't need to. We could be here all day, ladies.
Yeah.
So
but hopefully us telling, opening up about it, even if it helps one person open up about it and just realize I need help, then we've done something, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's
good. I need help, and I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
We'll put some we'll put some resources up, and I'll put them actually in the show notes when we post. So go ahead and go to the show notes. I'll post Jolie's book. We'll post the link to BetterHelp. I'll post, and I know that we have therapy resources too. At least in Scottsdale, Portland, Vancouver area.
Post some resources, and I have like a bookshelf of books that I would post that that I think there's just so many resources, and starting with reading a book. I mean, I started even before our family fell apart. I started with a book on narcissism that opened a light on what was going on in my life. So
same. I read the actual psychiatric disorder textbook from they use in medical school.
That'll be helpful. Yeah.
Honestly, I think people should read it. Don't necessarily always take other people's take on it. Go read it. Go read the source of the actual diagnosis description. We can post that too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, I love you guys.
Love you. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back. Our timing's always weird, so when we post, we post. Watch our Instagram, and
it'll be a surprise.
And we'll be back, and we won't even know what episode it is.
We're like a pop-up. You just never know.
It is. We're a pop-up. We're a pop-up podcast.
We're
love it.
We're a pop-up podcast.
Oh my gosh.
With anticipation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll see you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.